In this video, we're talking about the end of GTA 6 rumors, the PS5 Pro's latest spec leak, and if this latest PlayStation controversy even matters. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to PSReady. I hope you're having a great week. This is my channel where I talk about PlayStation news, so if that sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe and set your notifications to all. As for what I've been playing, I've been bouncing between a few things. I'm still chipping away at Diablo 4 Season 2. I've been playing a little bit of the new season of Halo Infinite. I know, switching sides, I'm a traitor. I reviewed Spider-Man 2 in my last video, and essentially I thought it was a great game. It was just noticeably a step down in a lot of ways from the first Spider-Man game, but like going from a 9.5 to an 8 isn't really the biggest deal in the world, you know what I mean? The first thing I want to talk about is all of this GTA 6 news. So the timeline here starts the night before the actual announcement. Jason Schreier put up an article on Bloomberg that said, hey, Rockstar is going to announce GTA 6 this week, and there will be a trailer in early December. And then this morning when I'm recording this video, so yesterday when you're seeing it, we did of course get a bunch of tweets from Rockstar in a nice little thread, and right at the end they basically confirmed that yeah, they're going to share some info on GTA 6, or as they call it, the next Grand Theft Auto title, in the beginning of December. It's not that long of a thread. It says, next month marks the 25th anniversary of Rockstar Games. Thanks to the incredible support of our players worldwide, we've had the opportunity to create games we are truly passionate about. Without you, none of this would be possible, and we are so grateful to all of you for sharing this journey with us. In 1998, Rockstar was founded on the idea that video games could be as essential to culture as any form of entertainment, and we hope that we have created games that you love in our efforts to be part of that evolution. We are very excited to let you know that in early December we will release the trailer for the next Grand Theft Auto. We look forward to many years of sharing these experiences with all of you. Thank you, Sam Houser. So it is promising to know that one of the Houser brothers is still there leading the charge on Grand Theft Auto. I really hope he sticks around, because I don't like when studios like Rockstar or Rocksteady or BioWare even, or Blizzard, or any of these big studios that have storied names lose big key talent that's been there from the beginning, because people are part of these studios' identity. So it is good to know that he's there, he's the one sharing this message. It's like, it gives it more of a soul, right? It doesn't feel like GTA Online, it still feels like GTA 6. Obviously, this is going to be, no hyperbole, the biggest game of all time. It's been 10 years since GTA 5, which is crazy. I still remember vividly when that game came out. It was 10 years ago. I was a junior in college. I had just made one of my best friends, his name is Craig, and I got a review copy for GTA 5 on the PS3. It showed up with a t-shirt, some stickers, and a gold bar flash drive that I still have to this day, because it was a really cool moment for me as a game critic back in the day. I basically put all of my school stuff to the side and played it for hours and hours and hours, and over the years I played it on PS4, I played it on my PC, I played it on PS5. Now is definitely the time for GTA 6. There's just so many leaks now, and honestly it kind of sucks now compared to how it was when I was growing up. I will never forget the announcement of GTA 4, because it was just a countdown on a website, and it was like, whoa, this is something cool, this is something worth being excited about. And you take that announcement and contrast it to like a 24 hours before the actual announcement article on Bloomberg. It's like, oh my god, that's so boring. And knowing that the announcement was going to be 24 hours later, it's like, why even post the article? I get that that's how everything works now. People are looking for leaks, they're looking for rumors, they're looking for hype headlines and everything like that, but it just must suck so bad for the people who worked on this game for so long to be that close to the official announcement, and then the news just comes out on a business website. I'm not criticizing the writer as much as I am the culture that leads to stuff like this happening, but I don't know, like, we've gotten to a point where marketing has been so demonized, and I don't really understand it, because in a lot of ways marketing can be fun. Like ARGs and stuff like that are cool and interesting. There's bad marketing, of course, there's tons of bad marketing out there that like preys on your insecurities and everything like that, but when you're talking about the announcement of the biggest video game of all time, I think it would have been genuinely cooler if we got the announcement from Rockstar instead of Bloomberg, right? I don't think it's going to change. I'm still excited, but I've been thinking a lot lately about how like in 2015 that surprise announcement for Fallout 4 got me so excited. I pre-ordered the game that night at the E3 showcase. It happened really late at night because I was on Eastern time. I was still living at my parents' house, and I was like, wow, I had tons of wonder and excitement about this game. And then you contrast that with Starfield's announcement, and it really felt like because of leaks, I knew everything about the game before it was even announced. And then with GTA 6, I've seen so much of this game already, like full gameplay, and it's of no fault of my own. Like, I'll be scrolling through Twitter or TikTok, and then I'll see a video of an open world game that looks vaguely like Miami, and then after I've watched 30 seconds of it, I'll look at the tweet and realize it's Grand Theft Auto 6 leak gameplay. But like with all things, I feel like eventually people are going to get sick of the whole leak culture, and instead of getting worse, I'm hoping the pendulum swings back and we get cool marketing moments again. But regardless, I'm excited for GTA 6. I have a strong feeling that if we don't see this trailer at the Game Awards opening night live thing or whatever Jeff calls it, we will see like an actual dedicated showcase from Rockstar. They really don't have to show that much, right? Like, they just have to show a trailer that lets us know what the world is, what the graphics are going to be like, and just kind of gives us that visual eye candy that we had with the GTA 5 announcement trailer. That's like, hey, you should be excited for this because it's going to change gaming. Next up here, the PS5 Slim isn't even out yet, but the PS5 Pro is just a year away, so it's time to talk about it because we are getting full-on spec leaks. The specs that are being rumored for the APU are that it's going to have a Zen 2 CPU that clocks in at 4 GHz, and it'll also have an RDNA 3 GPU that clocks in at 2.8 GHz, and it's going to have a shared 16 GB of memory. Now, that's just a bunch of numbers, but basically what it means is it's going to be a pretty healthy upgrade over the current PlayStation 5, and I was like a little iffy on whether or not we actually needed this, but now after this year of games, it seems like just about the right time for the PS5 to get a little bit of a spec bump. We've had a ton of games come out this year, so it's a little bit easy to get lost in it, but if you focus on just the biggest releases, like the next gen games like Final Fantasy 16, Jedi Survivor to some extent, that was more of a situation where the game wasn't finished, but I'll include it anyway. Baldur's Gate 3, Alan Wake 2, Starfield, Lords of the Fallen, you know, these games that are actually pushing things forward in terms of systems, graphics, world scale and size, everything like that. The one constant is that instead of having a true performance mode that can run at a locked 60 FPS, most of these games focus on the 30 FPS mode, and a lot of times it doesn't even hit that benchmark. And a big reason why I think a PS5 Pro, while not necessary, it would be a good idea for Sony, is that a lot of developers actually are taking advantage of the power difference in that the Xbox Series X on paper is more powerful than the PS5. And when developers take advantage of that console, it results in a game that not only looks a little bit better, but also runs better. The latest example of that is Alan Wake 2. Now, there's some situation where the way they use shaders in the game, they can't do it in the same way across the Series X and the PS5, but basically the PS5 uses an older rendering technique for the shaders, and because of that, it has trouble running at a locked 60 FPS, and it looks worse overall than the Series X version. The reasoning for that is that Microsoft made a bigger bet on graphics power, whereas Sony made a bigger bet on the SSD, and we have seen better loading times from the PS5, which is cool, but basically going forward, we're going to see probably a lot more games that run just a little bit better on the base Series X than they do on the base PS5. If Sony releases this console that's a pretty healthy upgrade over the current PS5, then they'll have nothing to worry about because on paper, once again, they'll have the better console, and we'll get more benefits as PS5 gamers out of the situation we've seen this generation where developers are focusing more on the PlayStation 5 even though they have more graphical headroom and performance headroom on the Xbox Series X. And for people who just got a PlayStation 5 and they're like, crap, I'm already gonna have to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro, Xbox is kind of helping us core gamers here in this generation as well with their other console, the Series S, holding everything back. Because while we have seen just one game that's allowed to not have parity between the Series X and Series S version, which is Baldur's Gate 3, the vast majority of games, like every other game that's come out on the Series X, needs to have some sort of parity with the Series S. And by that, the rule is the games can't have features that are missing on the Series S that are there in the Series X. They can run at different frame rates and different resolutions and different settings, but if they have different features, that's a no-go for Microsoft. So knowing that the Series S is basically like a beefed up Xbox One X, that's going to be the baseline for how big and expansive a game can really be this generation. So if they do release a PS5 Pro next year and it's this crazy spec bump, it's still not going to be to a point where the PS5 that we have now can't run these games, which I think is good overall. But when that console does come out, I think it's going to create a situation where instead of getting games that have a performance and a quality mode on the regular PS5, you're going to get a performance mode and quality mode on the PS5 Pro. On the regular PS5, you're going to get a quality mode, which is going to be a 30 FPS mode that pushes the console as much as it can to run at a higher resolution with medium or high settings. The big question people who already have a PS5 are going to have to ask themselves, of course, is how much 60 FPS matters to them, because that's going to be the baseline, I think, for the PS5 Pro. Last generation, the target was definitely not 60 FPS with the PS4 Pro. It was really to hit 4K resolution, which they did, but all these games that came out were running at 30 FPS, and the PS4 regular, it was struggling to hold 30 FPS even at the lowest settings with a lot of games. Now, you guys know I split my time between PC, PS5, and pretty much everything else, so I'm a pretty diehard 60 FPS player, but recently, I've kind of just given up on that because PC used to be the place you would go to get 60 FPS, but because of shader compilation stuttering and games actually being next gen now between Starfield and Alan Wake 2, the idea of being able to hold a rock solid 60 FPS, even with upscalers like DLSS and FSR3, it's not really the hard guarantee that we had back in the day. So for me personally, if a game is really pushing things like Alan Wake 2 or Starfield, on my PC, I'll play it at 40 FPS because my monitor is 240 Hertz, and that's a good middle ground. The Steam Deck really opened my eyes to that. And then on my Nintendo Switch, I think 30 FPS is fine for a game like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So I'm really okay with 30 FPS now, and honestly, after playing a lot of games this gen on the PS5 in quality mode, I'm starting to see the light there, where graphics really matter, and with Spider-Man 2, for example, playing it in the 40 FPS mode, it's absolutely phenomenal. So while the spec bump is really good, and I probably will end up getting a PS5 Pro just to unbox here on the channel, I don't think it's a situation where people are going to have to be worried like it was last generation, where the difference between the PS4 and PS4 Pro was very noticeable because the PS4 generation got such a late start, so from the beginning those consoles were underpowered, whereas this generation, the PS5 out the gate was a very powerful console, as was the Series X, and we also have the Series S as a baseline that developers need to take into account when they release these next gen games. So I don't think we really have much to worry about as current PS5 owners. And the last news story I want to talk about today is a controversy once again with PlayStation. It's reminding me of the disk drive situation with the PS5 Slim. It's just like a no big deal situation to me that I don't really care about. So basically what's happening is that Sony put out an announcement that says in the next couple weeks they're going to remove the feature on the PlayStation 5 where you can post to Twitter directly from your PlayStation. So if you hit the share button and take a screenshot or a video, you're no longer going to be able to post directly to Twitter. Now, the reason I think this is more of a controversy is because it already happened on the Xbox side of the fence and people really tried to make it a big deal there and largely failed, right? Like, I think Xbox is investigating putting the feature back, but no one really cares at the end of the day because it's much more good if you record your footage on your Xbox or your PS5 and then transfer it to an SSD and upload it that way, because the bitrate gets completely crushed if you post directly to Twitter from your PlayStation 5, and the same thing goes for screenshots. It's way easier to keep a higher quality screenshot if you just transfer it to a USB drive off of your PlayStation and tweet it from your computer. If you really care about quality, it's smarter to do it that way, and if you don't care about quality, I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world to people to lose the ability to share to Twitter. And right after this controversy came to light, Elon Musk actually said he's investigating the situation and he's going to try to make a deal with PlayStation to get that functionality back. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting so aware of when Xbox really want to make something a big problem, even though it's not. Like with the Modern Warfare 3 reviews, that game just came out and a lot of people are putting out this rumor that like, oh, Call of Duty is owned by Xbox and that's why the campaign is getting bad reviews. Whereas in reality, it's just a bad campaign. Like, it's a 4-hour campaign that's built with Warzone assets, which to me feels like a scam. And also when you look at the zombies mode, it's like an open world outbreak mode that takes place in the new Warzone map as well. It seems like they just wanted to check some boxes and make sure that they had the same level of content, even though it's not really. So yeah, that's what I mean when I say it's very obvious when Xbox are trying to make it a situation where it's like, oh, there's just this clear bias against Xbox in the industry. Like, yeah, I feel like Xbox has more of an uphill battle because they have released overall the past 2 generations, not only less first party games than Sony, but worse first party games than Sony. So yeah, yeah, people are going to go in with some scrutiny. You can't eliminate all bias, right? Like you can't say, oh, I'm going in completely objective here, I'm going to rate this game on its own merits. You have that prior experience going in where maybe the last experience you had on Xbox was bad, like with Halo Infinite, whereas now it's great. When it came out, it was a mess, and people will remember that and take that into their next review. So yeah, I don't think Call of Duty is getting a lower rating, and I don't think it's that big of a deal that you're not going to be able to post your screenshots directly to Twitter anymore. I'm sorry. But yeah, like I always say, at the end of the day, what matters is games, and right now gaming is very good. We have awesome stuff to play, whether you're playing Spider-Man 2, you're going back to Starfield, you're playing Tears of the Kingdom, or I don't know, Mario Wonder. No matter what you're playing, you're probably having a good experience. So don't let the trolls on Twitter get you upset that you can't share your screenshot of Miles Morales clipping into the floor on Twitter.